Welcome to Sports Buds Hockey Podcast, where two friends come together to discuss all things hockey and where everyone's opinion is appreciated. Please welcome your hosts, Merrick Zemp and Collin Simpson.
Hello and welcome to Sports Buds Hockey Podcast, Season 3, Episode 13. My name is Merrick Zemp, and with me, as always, Collin Simpson. How are you doing tonight, Simps?
Doing great. Got a good game in Four Nations, Canada, Sweden, and the good team wins.
That's right. So tonight we're just going to do a quick recap on Game 1 of the Four Nations. So who goes up 1-0? Who goes 0-1? That's right. Canada wins in big fashion. But a little bit to talk about, all kinds of things. Obviously, from the start to finish, player of the game at the end, and obviously the recap. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the first period, Simps? What'd you think? What'd you see?
Well, we came out gunning. Obviously, the home crowd, really played to the Canadian side. They came out with a lot of intensity, passion. You could see a lot of guys want to play. I think the fact that Crosby was going to be in the lineup got a lot of the players pretty excited as well. They weren't sure if their captain was going to be there for sure or not. So that was good. So they came out good, got an early power play, which obviously helps. We talked about it the other night, kind of what the power play was going to look like and whether they're going to stack up the first line on the power play, and they did. And sure enough, it did pay off dividends right away.
12 seconds. 12 seconds after they got the power play at 44 seconds. 12 seconds later, they'd scored. So, yeah, Nathan MacKinnon from Crosby and McDavid. So, yeah, you got to talk about nuclear. There's your line. There's your setup on the power play. So, at this point, they're 1-for-1 in the season and 1-for-1 in the game. This is going to be something you're going to have to stop the rest of the way, or else they should be able to convert almost every time.
Yeah, it should be able to look at even when you're playing against good teams and stuff like that with that much star power and you don't know where to go. I don't think many teams are going to want to give up many penalties against this squad, but that put them up 1-0, and things were looking good at that point. We were kind of all over them. I think at one point I saw it was a 7 or 8-0 in the shots before I even got a shot. I think Sweden got one whole shot in the whole period.
Yeah, it wasn't much. They definitely weren't pressing Canada very much. They got a second goal later in the period, Brad Marchand from Braden Point, Seth Jarvis. That one was a really nice. Jarvis tipped it past the defender for a 2-on-1 with Point and Marchand. He slid the puck across and he buried. I mean, when you look at this and you've got Braden Point on the third line with Marchand, they're pesky. They're going to be hard to play against, but they're also going to be able to score and put the puck in the net if they get the chance. So really good start for Canada, up 2-0 after the first period. Why don't you tell me what happened next?
Well, yeah, I just want to allude a little more on that goal. I think really the props have to go to Seth Jarvis on that one. He easily could have just, when he was going to get pinned up on the boards, just chipped it in. And then you're not looking at a 2-on-1. Obviously, at that point speed, it was just a matter of a routine almost at that point for the 2-on-1. Marchand was so open by the time he got the puck. But I just want to kind of point out what a big play that was by Jarvis on the boards there to have the smarts to just get it into Point rather than just into the corner.
Yeah, absolutely the right play. Did a great job. And really, for me, kind of showed he belonged there because he was kind of expected to be the last forward, I think. So it was good to see him in the lineup and contributing right away.
Obviously, then that takes us kind of into the second period. A little bit more life out of Sweden kicking off the second period. I think they were able to get the composure in the intermission. They kind of got some more chances going the other way, started to close up the shots a little. Wasn't just all one-sided. I think you lost that energy bump that the Canadians had from the crowd and the excitement of it all. And then we were kind of more down to just two good hockey teams starting to play back and forth a little bit. It was a little bit tighter game too.
Definitely a tighter game. You're right. Sweden, whether they made some adjustments, I didn't notice offhand if they adjusted lines or changed any of that, or maybe just got a little bit more comfortable with each other. But all of a sudden, they were definitely controlling it in Canada's end a little bit more, actually turning it into some shots, turning it into some plays. And I mean, even things that missed and didn't turn into anything, they were still cycling the puck and having that ozone time that was making a big difference. So they did end up getting a goal. Jonas Broden scored from Hedman and Raymond. It wasn't much of a shot. It was, from the far side, almost against the boards from the circle, and just kind of ripped it over top of his shoulder for Binnington. Not a Not a great goal to give up with a 2-0 lead, but I mean, you know what? 2-0 leads are always like that. It seems to be tough. Fortunately, Mark Stone responded from Sidney Crosby, a nice shot, and gave him that 3-1 lead going into the second period. But what did you think of the goaltending at this point? Only one goal against, but it was definitely, it wasn't an impossible one to stop for sure.
Yeah, I think what you talked about, where the game kind of changed, is Sweden did get some more cycle play, a little more pressure down low. I think the Canadians got tired. I think in that goal there, especially, I think there was like an icing just before, and the fourth line got caught out, and they just couldn't get the puck out. I think Doughty had two chances to get it out, and he doesn't, and it just happens to roll over to Brodin, and he ends up putting it in net. Yeah, I think it's a save you've got to make. I don't believe there was no real traffic. There was not much to it. It just got up over the shoulder.
There
Obviously,
may
any
have been
goal can go
somebody.
in, but like it's just a goal. You don't
Yeah,
want to let them get back into the game from the
yeah,
momentum that you
yeah.
already kind of pinned them off from. I know they've been taking it back at you a little, but you guys have been weathering it. But I think and here's my pet peeve for the whole game, on whether it was a strategy from John Cooper or the game I watched in the second period, in which was just, I'm hoping that's not the style they're going to play the rest of the way. I honestly, think I counted about 15 to 20 times just in the second period alone where Canada just flipped the puck out. Like, they were just doing it over and over. It's like they thought the 2-goal lead was enough, and they would just rest the rest of the way. And I get
For the
playing it
last
safe,
30
you're up.
minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it was so much time left. And they were just chipping and chipping and chipping. And I'm like, you've got the likes of McKinnon, McDavid. Why can't we just, like, instead of chipping it, turn and lay it back to the other defender, take a second, and start hitting guys with passes with speed? Let's get some speed through the neutral. We weren't getting any speed through the neutral zone. There was no rushes through the neutral zone. McDavid, and a couple times, had to come all the way into his own end and pick up the puck from their guys, just because he wasn't receiving a pass. It was always a chip and chase. And it wasn't
Yeah.
even like a chip in. I don't mind the dump ins for chips, but it was just out of your zone. You know what I mean? Oh, a little bit of
Yep.
pressure. I don't even want to try to hang on to it, possess it.
It
I'm just
was
going to hammer it
always,
off and make a line change. And it became pretty bad hockey. And the more we did it, the more times Sweden got to keep coming back into our end with possession, because they weren't
especially
doing it.
especially in the second period, right? You've got that long change. So even dumping it like that, you've got a shot at getting a forward or two off the ice and changed out. But you probably don't change all three, and you almost never change the defenseman because they're chipping it, and the farthest it's getting is the far blue line. So that's not enough time. It's not able to do it. And yeah, you're not mounting anything. So you work your ass off to get the puck, get it back, just so you can get a little bit of open space while they're changing. And what do? You just dump it right back to their defenseman, and they come right back in at you, and you probably don't even get a new set of D-man out there. Yeah, no, it was definitely, there was some frustration there, and I agree. I hope that's not what we're going to see the rest of the way.
Well, you've got possibly the three best puck carriers in the league, in the NHL, on your team: McKinnon, McDavid, Makar. And I felt like we were completely neutralizing that talent by chipping it out and saying, "Hey, you guys just chase a puck in the air, like a Hail Mary in the air, and hopefully we catch it and go somewhere." It's hard to do that because the defender is already staring at it. When he's backpedaling and sees it go up in the air, it's very easy for a defender to get. It's very hard when, as a forward who's looking back over his shoulder, hoping it bounces correctly.
Well, it's baseball, right?
You know
You
what I mean?
just
Like,
camp
just,
under you camp under a fly ball, or you got to run and catch it over your shoulder.
yeah.
Like, it's
So
obviously a different thing.
if that was Cooper's strategy, because those are a lot of those guys on our team don't do that normally. So I was kind of curious on if that was him and the strategy they've set up and playing it safe in the first game. I'm not sure, but I think hopefully they rethink that, because I think we started to see that going into the third. So there's where we are at the third. I think we're still up 2
Yeah,
going into the
3-1.
third,
That's
3-1.
right.
But again, I saw more of that in the third, and we continued to see Sweden press and get more confidence, and guys like Nylander and them buzzing a little, Jesper Bratt buzzing. Like, they started to pick up a lot of confidence, and I didn't feel like Canada was putting them on their heels at all for a while.
Yeah, no, I agree. There was quite a stretch there where it didn't really feel like Canada was putting any pressure on them. They weren't getting them in. They weren't getting any O time. They weren't anything. So yeah, definitely a challenge for that. And then in the third period, predictably, what happens, right? If all you do is sit back and wait and let them keep coming at you, Adrian Kempe just steps over the blue line and not much of a shot, high slot, and just rips it over. Well, rips it right through Bennington. Again, I know Doughty, not to pick on him, but he was out there for the first goal and he was out there for this one too. But I mean, this was a shot from the high slot. You absolutely have to have this puck. It's 3-1, and I don't think it deflected. I don't think it did anything. It didn't look like it, and yeah, Kempe just ripped it straight through Bennington.
And I know you don't want to pick on anybody, but I'll pick on Doughty. The fact is, he looked like a guy who'd only played 6 games. He looked like a 35-year-old, and it didn't help. And here's probably the kicker that we didn't really kind of talk about was Theodore going out early. So
Oh yeah,
with Theodore going out, Doughty got way more minutes than he could possibly need at that point.
yeah,
And like I said, that first goal, he looked juiced when he couldn't get the puck out. There was multiple times his gap. Even the announcers talked about it. So when he came in to score there, Kempe came across the line. They're so far back. And a lot of
yeah.
time you're far back like that when you don't feel confident that you've got the ability, the energy to be uptight and continue to chase with them. So you drop off. And
Yeah, you back
that
off.
allowed him this 5-6 feet over the blue line to get in a good spot to score. Now, again, a goal that shouldn't have went in. There's no screen, no tip. Kempe's got a great shot. There's no doubt about it. But again, you're at the top level. We're talking about the Four Nations here. That's a save that probably should be made.
And that's the thing. You look at this point and you could make a case it should be 3-1 instead of 3-2. You could even make a case it's 3-0 instead of 3-2. So at that point, obviously gave Sweden some extra life. You saw more chances, more shots, more ozone time, and then a beautiful play actually by Raymond, and then to Bratt over to Eriksson Ek for a backdoor little tap in. No problem, easy shot. To tie it up at 9 minutes into the third. So, you look at these and it's real tough. At that point you're starting to think, can Canada actually lose this? And to be honest, once that last one went in, which was actually a good play, no fault on Binnington in that one. I mean, he could have dove across, he could have whatever, but that's not on him at all. But at that point, I spent the next 11 minutes basically just fingers crossed on every shot. He'd already given up a couple. You're literally just any shot from anywhere could be the one that wins it for Sweden. So watching the rest of the game, that made me pretty nervous and having to deal with that, and made me pretty nervous in really just watching them shoot on Binnington after that.
Yeah, and like you said, you were saying there, like any goal by Sweden could win it. And don't get me wrong, obviously that means any goal by Canada can win it. But I feel like at that point, with that strategy they went with these 2-goal leads of just chipping and chasing, or not even chasing at times, you took out all the skill. And I didn't feel like I felt the same as you. I kind of kept thinking we're playing this, and oh God, Sweden might score and win this, because it wasn't in my brain of going, oh, Canada's actually going to get the next one, and we'll maybe get 2. Because we just weren't pressing anymore. They were pressing. We were on our heels. And so even though we've got more talent, it just didn't feel like a game in which we were going to get the next one. It's kind of good it went to overtime, to be honest.
There was a couple shifts in a row where it did kind of transfer over. I think it started with the McKinnon Crosby Stone line. They were out there and just putting pressure and just in the offensive zone. And then McDavid followed with Marner and Reinhart and putting that pressure on and getting some good chances. There was a really good pass across that Gustafsson made a big save on. There was a couple spots, a couple chances where I thought, okay, this is it. And Canada, maybe that was it. McDavid cut right through in front of the net at one point and did a nice little pass, but nobody was there. There was a few things that made me optimistic, but yeah, it was definitely nerve wracking. So yeah, and then getting to at that point, right, we wrote out the rest of the time and it went to overtime. So now we're 3-on-3. I thought they would start. I figured for sure they'd start with McKinnon, McDavid, and McCarr, but they started with I think it was McDavid and Marner. McDavid and Marner, but later on they put.
Well, I thought
all
they
of them
loaded up on
together.
the first
No,
one out.
not at the beginning. That's why I was surprised. And then McKinnon was out there, and after a few, they ended up putting them out there together. And you could just see that McKinnon would, like, he wanted to end it. I think he got 3 or 4 shots just by himself in
Yeah.
that overtime, which is good and bad. I mean, there's a couple, at least one where he probably could have made the pass and it might have been a little bit better option, but he was going for it and making sure they got shots on net and tried to do it. And then obviously one of your favorites is the hero.
Yeah, Mitchie finally, and you know what? He had 2 or 3 other chances where he was in that overtime, and I was like yelling at my TV to shoot because he just kept looking for an option, kept looking for an option. I'm like, you are in a good spot.
Yeah.
Shoot the puck. Shoot the
Yeah.
puck, please. Like, you just keep holding on to it, and what's going to happen is you're going to hold too long, make a bad pass, and they're going to go the other way. And then, yeah, sure enough, he gets a chance to come in. This time he doesn't overthink it, and then rips one over to the left side there, and it's over. So obviously that's big. No matter how the game went, it wasn't what I'd call a strong game in the sense from Canada's side. It was an exciting game. I really enjoyed it. Lots of end to end. I think especially when Sweden kind of caught their stride a little. So definitely what you would really want to see out of a first game in a best on best series. Gives me something to look forward to in each of the games coming. I think each one can be exciting. And obviously I'm the most excited for the Saturday night game against the US. So some other things I'd like to take away from this was, watching the game, when you're talking about best on best, and we look at all these guys and they're all stars in the NHL, right? But then you have to always look at yourself and go, okay, well, that's the NHL. The NHL also has a lot of players that are, below mid, right? So how good are you really when you're playing against other countries' best players versus how good are you when you're playing against the Buffalo Sabres, right? Sorry, Buffalo.
Yeah.
But,
We
so
all hate to say it about Buffalo, but we're all thinking it.
Yeah. So it's like I started to kind of look through the lineup and kind of look and see who still was a standout. Like McDavid from the first touch, you could see he wanted to play. He was so noticeable on every single play, whether it was back checking with speed. Every time he has a puck, he looked like McDavid. And it looked like the normal, everything you see from him every day. It doesn't matter that the level changed. He looked the same. Crosby looked good. McKinnon looked good. But then I had some guys for me who kind of looked invisible. Like, honestly, Sam Reinhart looked absolutely invisible. This looked like, okay, Sam Reinhart, he's got how many goals for Florida? Great. Who are you beating up on? Because at this level, he was just gone. Mark Stone, invisible for most of the game for me. Gets a goal. I get he got a goal, but that was because Crosby held off a guy going full speed, turns around, throws a puck back, and you just got to swing a stick at it real quick.
Yeah.
But again, these are guys at the top. When you watch them in the NHL, you go, this guy's top level. This guy's top level. And I think it's not a slam. It's just goes to show, how
what that
good
next
you
level
are.
looks like.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
what that next level looks like. To excel here is something different. Crosby getting three assists tonight at 38 years old, is he? Something like that?
Yeah, 37.
37 years old, getting 3 assists in his first game, and just coming back from an injury, and he's all over this game. Even the play to Marner in the end, right? Big dumping it straight back to the guy with speed, making sure he gets off the ice, right? Getting to the blue line, gets off the ice to make sure he's off, that he's onside, right? Because you don't want to blow that play now. And so, just doing the little things and doing everything. And he was noticeable, like you said. You saw him the whole game. I didn't notice a lot of Sweden players. I thought Jesper Bratt, I noticed a few times, seemed to be playing well, doing a few things. I noticed Ekholm on the defensive side a few times, making good plays. But I didn't notice a lot of them. And you're right. I thought that the fourth line did well. I thought the fourth line, land some hits and that kind of thing and was around. But, I don't know if they would be counted on for any offense anyway. So, but, not a lot of, a little bit of digging in corners and that kind of thing, but not a lot of ozone time or anything for them. But
yeah, I think the problem though I had with the fourth line and this whole, whether it be questions on Cooper's selections and stuff like that, was I felt like they were out there too much. Like, you're looking at Brandon Hagel has almost 15 and a half minutes time on ice. A bit of that was the one penalty kill. But to me, that's too much time when you're that loaded up high. And I mean, especially even ignoring the total time on ice, in the last 6 minutes, I saw more Brandon Hagel than any other player. That includes more Crosby. There was more than McDavid, more than anybody, and we're tied 3-3.
Yeah.
And I get he feels comfortable with his team and his players. Well, that's to me not acceptable when the best players in the world, and maybe one day will be considered some of the best players of all time, are sitting on the ice 3-3. It kind of brings me back to the old, and it's not the exact same, but it brings me back to the old Olympics where you're going into a shootout and Gretzky's not stepping off the bench, sort of thing, right? I don't agree with that. I don't care if you're comfortable. Brandon Hagel is not the guy to go out and win this game. Nathan McKinnon, you could see once he was given his chance, because he wasn't really allowed out much in the last little bit, give him that overtime. He's like, I'm taking every opportunity to put this on my back.
Yeah.
And win this. And that's what Cooper should have gave those guys more chances to do that down the. If it meant taking a timeout to rest them,
yeah,
so be it. Don't keep putting Brandon Hagel and those guys out.
Yeah, realistically, you go line number 1, line number 2, line number 3 just to stem them off, line number 1, line number 2 again. And if you can, you go line 1, line 2, line 1, line 2, then 3, then 1, 2 again.
You think about Pittsburgh and Edmonton and those when they're down or tied in a game, Crosby and McDavid stay on 2.5 of the last 4 minutes anyways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
it's not even absurd to think.
Game.
Yeah.
So this, you get to actually give them a full 2 minutes off if they want it, because they each could go 2.5 on their own lines. Now you're sitting for 2.5 before you go back out. So anyway, so that was one of the big things I get. He's comfortable with them. For me, it's too much of those guys in this type of game where they really needed to get that excitement back, the crowd back in it.
They needed that last goal.
It felt like you grinded away a game.
Yeah, they needed that. Obviously with Binnington in there, he was giving up a couple. You needed that fourth goal. And then obviously once they tied it, then of course you needed the fourth goal. But yeah, you needed to push hard and get the fourth, get the fifth. They didn't lose their momentum because they were pushing. They lost their momentum because they stopped.
Correct.
They lost their momentum because they were starting to play defensive and trying to hold up.
Momentum. They said, "Here, have some momentum.
Yeah,
I'm just going to chip and chase and allow you more time to gain confidence and come at us. And I'm just going to keep chipping it out. And hopefully I can go 45 minutes of chipping it out after I've just brought on this team some of the highest talent that we've ever seen. And I'm going to keep chipping it out." And
like after Kempe scored, you're right. They just kept chipping it out, and not playing and pushing hard anymore. And because of that, they gave him the chance and the time to get another goal by Eriksson Ek, and then they really did it. Like I said, I think there's a few flashes in there where they did better, but I think they're going to have to bring more of a game. And I think they got more comfortable together too.
Yep.
I also think that in reality, the odds are that Sweden will probably be a lesser penalized team than the U.S. will be.
Correct. But can we stay out of the box as well? Because we both know how that turns out. They're going to have a potent power play as well.
Well, that's it. Yeah. They're going to be extremely good on the power play as well. So, if we can stay out of the box, and I mean, the one tonight was pretty minor, and same thing for Nylander got the first penalty for Sweden, but just, minor stick infractions, 20 hits apiece kind of thing, but not a real rough game by any stretch. Not a lot of after the whistle, not a lot of scrums in front of the net, which we could see a lot more of when it's Canada-US. So you're going to have, Kachucks, you're going to have all that stuff. So, odds are we're going to see more of that in that game, and we'll see what that turns into. Because if that starts turning into some goaltender interference, some roughings, that kind of thing for either team, that could really be the factor that's going to change this game on Saturday.
Yeah, I can think because the format of this and all this superstar talent everybody's got, it kind of reminds me of, when you go play against Oilers, the Penguins of the 90s, and these teams where you're like, special teams matters for everything. If you take penalties against this team, you're done. And I think that works both ways in this tournament is all. The only difference is every team is that. If you take too many penalties against the other team, they will bury you. Don't matter who you are, they'll bury you. Now, every
Sweden
team has a great one.
Yeah, Sweden didn't score on their power play, but they looked pretty good. They moved the puck around well. Canada got a couple not breaks, but like couple seals and sent it down the ice and whatever. But yeah, they still look pretty good. So I'm sure they'll get better, just like I'm sure Canada will. Now they've got a couple days to relax and do a little bit more practicing. We'll see if we see a goaltending change. We'll see if we see any lineup changes. I could see Bennett getting into the game against the U.S. I think even just to irritate them a little more and I feel like he might have the inside track on making Matthew a little angry or something like that, maybe drawing him into some conflict or whatever. And I mean, for Canada, for us, that's a good trade. If we could trade Bennett for Matthew Tkachuk, I'm sure that's a good benefit for 2, 5, 10, whatever you can get him off for. So that's probably a good thing too.
Yeah, they even asked Kelly Rudy and Bieksa after the game about the goaltending change, whether it be, and obviously Rudy being the PC crazy goaltender, he says no, he would stick with Bennington. He won and everything like that. And Bieksa is a little bit smarter and says, well, no, I'd go Aiden Hill. He's just another Stanley Cup winner. He's younger, and he didn't. If Bennington would have killed it tonight, then you stay Bennington.
Yep.
And I'm not saying jump around goalie to goalie from game to game. There's not enough games. But I think that, to me, they were a coin toss to who the starter was.
Yep.
And I don't think Bennington did enough to not at least see Aiden Hill in the other game. If he's crap in that game, you go back to Bennington. Or if he's amazing, you just run him the rest of the way. I wouldn't go back and forth.
No.
But you're each getting a game. I know I kind of wish it was the Finland game next to see who's playing against US.
Yeah.
But you also have 2 practices now, 2 days of practice because there's no games on Friday. You got Finland and that tomorrow. You don't have to play tomorrow. So you have a few more days of practice to see how everybody's doing. I agree with you. I think Bennett will be in for sure. I don't know who will be out, but I definitely know Bennett will be in because it's going to be a chippier game. It's where players like that you kind of want to have in those type games. Otherwise, why did you bring them at all?
Well, I think Jarvis proved that he could play here, so I think they want to give him the chance, but I think he was always going to be the guy out, but we'll see. I think really what happens with this is, at this point, now that they have the win, right, you really need one more win to kind of make sure that you're in the finals. Unless it turns into just a big mess and everybody wins 2 games or everybody wins a game and there's overtime losses all over the place and all that kind of thing. If it just ends up with somebody's 3-0, somebody's 2-0-1 or 2-1-0, whatever, like I think a couple wins is going to get you in the finals. So looking at this, going, okay, either way, as long as they can play hard and beat Finland,
yeah,
they should be in the finals. Because they'll have beat Sweden, they'll have beat Finland. They should be in the finals guaranteed. Now, you know what? I think you put Aiden Hill in, put him in against the U.S., and like you said, if they end up winning 4-1 and he stops 28 shots, yeah, you keep going.
Yeah.
If it's a blowout and it's a 6-5 game, win or loss, whatever, then maybe you go back to Bennington for Finland, and then that's your goalie for the rest of the way. But yeah, I mean, I think you give it to Aiden Hill, knowing that with the win here, you're in really good shape and you've gotten a good start.
It's the tougher game too. So if you win that one, in my opinion, you beat the tougher opponent. So then you stay in. And then the last change, obviously, for Canada will probably be Sanheim will be coming in. Chances are Theodore will not be back, but it could be something minor. But he went out for the entire rest of the game. I assume he's probably out. And so you brought Sanheim, so I assume they'll play him.
Yeah, when you saw it, he kind of went into the boards and it looked like he sort of caught his wrist as he went in. So it could be just a heavy sprain and a couple days from now he's okay. But odds are he could probably barely move it after that happened. So he was definitely done for the night, and then see what happens with all the treatments they can do over the next couple days. But yeah, you're probably right. He probably comes in as well, Sanheim.
And then, other than that, should be the same, but should be exciting. Obviously, we got tomorrow night's game, Finland and the U.S. We'll see how that one turns out.
And I mean, this is one of the best parts of this. Like you said, it's best on best, and we've already run down Finland, and I'm sure just about everybody has. But you know what? People have run down Finland in dozens of World Juniors. They've run down Finland in dozens of World Championships and the Olympics and everything else. And Finland brings a hard fought team all the time. They're not Canada, they're not US, but they've got, as many medals, I think, as either of the other nations do in the last 10 years, spread out through all the different leagues and levels. And yeah, I mean, as much as I would already count, Canada should beat them next week and all of that, there's nothing given. Like, you got to earn it, and you're going to have to play hard. And I could totally see Finland coming out crazy and beating the U.S. tomorrow. Unlikely, but you got to play the game. Like, that's what this is all about. Saros can steal a game in a heartbeat. So, I mean, there's but
Yeah, it's a
so
one
can
one
so can
game.
Hellebuyck, right?
Yeah,
So I mean
one
that's
game.
it.
I don't see them winning that game, but I don't think
No.
it'll be as easy as some people think, but, we'll
Yeah.
see. Maybe we'll chat about it then, but then, obviously, then we're lined up for the big one on Saturday night for us, Canada, US, and, I think it's the same time as this one was tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern, I believe, again.
Yeah, something like that. Yep. And
So
so that's going to be the big one. I think there's a very real chance that, like I said, I think Finland can come out and they could surprise people. It's not likely, but they could. And if they don't, if the U.S. does win, then you're almost you are playing for a spot in the championship at that point. So
possibly,
that
possibly.
well,
If
if
Sweden
you've
beats
got
US, it's different, but
if you've got 2 wins, you're almost guaranteed to be in there, right?
yeah.
Because if Sweden beat the U.S., then the U.S. couldn't get to 2 wins if they lost to Canada already. So, right, you know what I mean? Like it
Oh,
could
fair when we
be,
go to play Finland, yeah, yeah.
yeah, like you already have 2 wins, and then yeah. So
Yeah,
I think 2 wins gets you in. So, and it might be that there's few teams that are 2 wins, but we'll see. But
yeah.
I think 2 wins probably gets you in, and yeah, go from there. So could be
Alright.
amazing.
Well, overall, I really enjoyed myself. I thought this was a great start to the tournament, mini tournament as it is, but I'm definitely looking for the next ones based on this one.
You know, I'm out of town tonight, Simps. We went out just to go and try to find a bar, a bar, a pub, or something to have a bite to eat in and watch the game. And everywhere was packed. We're in Revelstoke, beautiful city, beautiful place, but it was packed everywhere. People are excited about this. People have been waiting a long time to be able to do this. So yeah, it was a great start. Obviously, it's nice to have the win by Canada. Yeah, not as dominant as we would have loved to have had, but yeah, great start. And it's already been a great time and fun to watch. So yeah, really enjoying it. Can't wait for more. All right, Sib. So we'll be back. We'll try to do one. Maybe we'll see if we can touch base on Canada or on U.S. and Finland. Otherwise, we'll be back later on the weekend to talk about where Canada and U.S. and everybody sits once that game is over. So we really appreciate it. Thank you guys for listening. And we'll talk to you guys soon. So don't forget to find us, www.sportsbuds.com. That's sportsbudz.com. Or you can find us on Spotify, Amazon, Google, Apple. We're everywhere. So you can find us wherever you want. Just don't forget to spell it right. And make sure you click on it to make sure you're following us, because that way you'll get all the updates as soon as they come out. I want to thank you guys for listening. I want to thank you, Simps, for another great topic.
Yeah, it was fantastic, man. We're looking forward to Saturday, and go Canada, go.
So good. Talk to you soon. Thank you, everyone.